Welcome to the Modules for Instructional Strategies, brought to you by the Georgia Department of Education. This is Module 8, Population Geography, in which we will look at demographic patterns of population. In this module, we will look how students can demonstrate mastery of the Georgia Standards of Excellence Standard Social Studies World Geography 4, Element A, through the use of sample lesson ideas with resources. Social Studies World Geography 4 reads, assess the characteristics, spatial distribution, and migration of human population on the Earth's surface. Element A reads, assess demographic patterns of population using graphs, maps, and other models. Example of this, in which we will include in this activity or in this module, include the demographic transition model, population density maps, and global migration patterns. The sample activity demonstrated will not only allow students to satisfy the standard to be covered, but also demonstrate support for the connecting themes and enduring understandings that cross multiple units throughout all social studies courses. The enduring understanding that we will mostly touch on include movement migration, which reads, the student will understand that the movement or migration of people and ideas affect all societies involved. The activity presented in this module will have the students do a few things. 1. Look at how population has changed in regards to total population. 2. Identify where population growth has taken place most and least rapidly. 3. Identify reasons for growth. And 4. Develop solutions to improve conditions in the various locations being studied. In order to achieve the goal of this activity and to satisfy the standard, students must first understand a few key terms as well as the commonly used demographic transition model. I will begin with the main terms to know when studying demographic change. First, the crude birth rate, which is the total number of live births in a year for every 1,000 people alive in the society. Second, crude death rate, which is the total number of deaths in a year for every 1,000 people alive in the society. Additionally, when studying demographic change, we look at the natural increase rate, or the NIR, which is the percentage by which a population grows each year. This rate can be calculated by subtracting the crude death rate from the crude birth rate and dividing the answer by 10. For example, if the crude birth rate is 20 and the crude death rate is 5, 20 minus 5 yields 15 per 1,000, so now 15 divided by 10 equals 1.5 or 1.5%. Note that in some instances the natural increase rate, NIR, is referred to as the rate of natural increase, RNI, but both actually mean the same thing. Step 1. The first step in this activity is to assign each student a country to research. The teacher may select the country for the student or have them select their own. Be sure that the list of countries selected is balanced in this representation of the different world regions. In other words, do not have all your countries come from one region such as Latin America or Western Europe. Once the countries have been selected, direct the students to the World Bank website located at www.worldbank.org. Once there, students should click on the Data tab located in the top, find the search box located in the center, and type population. Note, when typing the word population, a drop-down list will appear. The two options students should look for are total population and or population growth. For a deeper or more advanced lesson, have the students compare the total population to the growth percentage. For example, while China, with its one-child policy, might have a low growth percentage, the total number of people they're adding each year is more than most countries due primarily to its already large population. As you can see, this line graph here shows the indication of total population of the world since the 1960s. You could, of course, choose a particular country or a variety of countries within a certain region. There are other features of this website that you could also use. You could change this statistics to a bar graph or a map to give you a better idea of where those countries are, what region these countries reside in. All these statistics that can be gathered from this website could be good discussion points to get the students to think about what they are researching. Step 2. The next step is to have students group themselves based on where their respected countries lie on the spectrum of rapid and slow growth. In other words, have the students move around the classroom asking each other how rapid or slow each other's country's population grew to decide amongst themselves how to best group their countries. Side note here, do instruct the students to group themselves into about 3 categories, one being low growth, no growth, or high growth. Additionally, depending on your individual student population, you may choose to structure this activity a little bit more than others. I have noticed that with my more advanced students, they seem to be able to group themselves a little faster, while other groups of students need a little bit more guidance from the instructor. This exercise, while it may appear to be a bit chaotic, and it very well might be, it does allow the students to investigate and decide how to best classify and organize their information. Step 3. Once the class has been organized, have each group research and brainstorm reasons why the population growth in their countries has been what it has. Side note here, before having the students research, do take a moment to teach the students about the demographic transition and its corresponding model, as it will help the students understand how development affects population growth. Here is a quick explanation of the DTM, or the demographic transition model. This model is used in most AP Human Geography classes, but might not be available to regular World Geography classes. In short, the demographic transition model is based on historical population trends of 2 demographic characteristics, birth and death rates. The model is broken up into 4 main stages, with a 5th theoretical stage at this particular point. Stage 1, which applies to most of the world before the Industrial Revolution, both death rates and birth rates were high, and as a result, population size remains fairly constant, but have major swings with events such as wars or pandemics. Stage 2, the introduction of modern medicine, lowers the death rates, especially among children, while birth rates remain high. The result is a rapid population growth. Many of the least developed countries today are still in Stage 2. In Stage 3, birth rates gradually decrease, usually as a result of improved economic conditions, an increase in women's status, and access to contraception. Population growth continues, but at a lower rate. Most developing countries are in Stage 3. In Stage 4, birth and death rates are both low, stabilizing the population. These countries tend to have stronger economies, higher level of education, better health care, a higher proportion of working women, and a fertility rate hovering around 2 children per woman. Most developed countries in the world today fall in Stage 4. There is a theoretical Stage 5, but depending again on how deep you want to investigate this topic with your students, you might want to leave this topic out. However, the possible Stage 5 would include countries in which fertility rates have fallen significantly below replacement level, or 2 children per woman, and the elderly population is greater than the youthful population. Japan would be a good example of a country approaching Stage 5. And again, here you can see the change between stages, as the yellow represents the birth rate, the green the death rate, and you can see the transition that happens as a country progresses through these different stages of development. So to continue step 3, some research will need to be conducted on the countries and regions and can be done as a group or individually as needed based on the classroom needs. When conducting research, make sure to reference other lessons already covered, as information can be used across multiple lessons. For example, students can refer to whether or not a country is part of a supranational organization and if this has helped in reducing or increasing population growth. The final step in the activity is to have the students create solutions to improve the growth rate in their countries to therefore improve the conditions therein. Or the students may look at the region if the students have decided to group their countries in that way. They should work together in their individual groups from step 2 and report the suggestions for improvements to the class as a whole. This last part can be done by way of a formal or informal presentation or any other method as deemed appropriate and necessary by the classroom teacher. This concludes Module 8.